All right. Good morning. How did you all sleep last night? Yeah. Some of you were a bit noisy. Um, yeah. So forgive my voice. It may be a little hoarse this morning, but I'm certain as we move forward, maybe things will warm up a bit, right? So at the end of yesterday's talk, I invited you to write down some questions, right? To maybe I promised to dive into some of the um, deeper issues surrounding clairvoyance and this fascination with seeing spirits and, whether or not this is a good thing, a bad thing, et cetera, et cetera. Because, many of you who have been with me for a very long time remember when I was very young, I was a very I guess we should say successful. What brought me into the public sphere, as it were, was, the popularity of um, what's known as mediumship, right? To connect with loved ones who have passed on, etc. And that's a very popular belief system. In fact, a whole religion is organized around it. The religion of spiritists and spiritualists and whole unions, the spiritualist union, right? That is the organization that dictates the policies and things of these churches that are organized around what they call is the science of mediumship. The science in that their position is it's a replicable method that proves communication with the afterlife. I don't want to go too into mediumship because it really touches people's buttons. Um, and I think that's part of the point is the work that I do and what I'm trying to teach you is that extrasensory perception can be a valuable tool to serve others. And when it becomes a method for experiencing the self as the witness of mystical and paranormal phenomena, we get into a little bit of a trap. And the trap is the fundamentalism that has to do with mysticism. And what I mean by that is fundamentalism, meaning this view of the world that oversimplifies things. It reduces options. It collapses things into a singularity, into this is the way things are. And that is a way of reducing stress, right? The less choice we have, the easier it is to say, yep, that's it. I don't have to think about anything else. There's another concern here too, regarding a fundamentalist viewpoint of quote spiritual things. And it really is the way that with fundamentalism is we split things dualistically. There are spirits, there is God, there is this thing that I need to appease or please or serve or glorify. There's this thing separate and outside of us, and it is objectively real and true. And so when we tread along dealing with people's beliefs, it really can begin to fracture the community that we're trying to create. Here, at least, maybe community isn't the right word. The right word would be dialogue, right? I want to share with you something. It has nothing necessarily to do with beliefs. In fact, what I'm inviting you to do is to go beyond beliefs. And this is relevant to clairvoyance in that when we see something, when we feel something, the mind organizes a belief around it. This is real, or at least this is real for me. And then I infuse it with a belief, and the belief is really rules about how this can be and why it is and why it works. And that belief then alters the lens through which we see the world, which provokes deeper insights into that belief or provokes interactions with people or perceptions that seem to create emotions that confirm our feeling that this is true or that. And what we've then done is crafted an identity around the belief in spirits or talking to the dead. And then clairvoyance becomes a way to affirm not just that belief, but the identity that it produces. And that identity then separates us from other people who perhaps aren't fluent in clairvoyance or don't agree with our interpretation of the things that we experience. And the more elaborate our beliefs become, or the more experiences that we accumulate, or the more diverse opinions become, what happens is we're just fracturing our relationship to the singularity. And then it's like when you break glass, it starts as a little crack and then it spider webs and becomes more and more and more and more fractured. And there's little bits of this and little bits of that until, if you look at, you know, auto glass, right? It actually will break into thousands and thousands of little squares, tempered glass, I suppose it is, right? And those little tiny squares are our individual selves clamoring for our place in the world, all the while trying to maintain our beliefs and the way that we think things are and who we are in relationship to those, our beliefs and the world that we've created through the lens of our perception. And what we do know is that the seemingly fantastic experience, the uplifting um, and freeing in many ways sensations that we do experience whenever we witness something paranormal or mystical or religious, right? These transcendent experiences, why are they transcendent, right? Imagine you have that iconic image of the man walking through a cornfield, right? And he's just carrying his things home after a long day's work. And all of a sudden, this bright light appears over him and shines down on him. He looks up, he drops everything that he's carrying. His knees buckle, his arms are like wet noodles at his side, and his chin is up in the air, and his jaw is slack, and he's looking up a word as if to say, my God, what am I looking at? Right? He's seeing a UFO. We can all picture that iconic image from movie posters and things, right? And in that moment, when this individual is staring up into that bright light, seeing the world other than how he imagined it really is, all that he experiences himself to be in relationship to how he defines himself in response to the way that he believes the world is, suddenly crumbles. Right? Many of you have had mystical experiences, or at least paranormal sensations derived from an event maybe you don't fully understand or couldn't really define, but you have a certain belief and it feels real and you know it's real. Yes, the experience is real. The experience is something called awe, AWE. right? And this, when we're all struck, it's like hitting reset, because the event that inspires the awe is changing our relationship to the way we believe the world works and who we are in response to how we define the world and ourself and place in it. This shedding of all of our baggage frees us. It's very much as if you're standing in a hot air balloon and someone drops all the sandbags and suddenly you begin to float. You feel free. Right? But the natural proclivity thereafter is to, why am I free? How does this work? What does it look like? How can I hold on to this? All is a beautiful thing. All is magical. If any of you, or I hope all of you, have ever felt the experience of awe in a really still moment, looking into the eyes of a loved one who you genuinely treasure, so much so that your own needs, your own wants, even your own identity just dissolves in that moment. That's the beauty of all, right? And it's why in many religious traditions, there is a path, or at least a philosophy about God being a kind of lover, right? It's not the indulgence of physical activities around love. It's this idea of merging, of union, of surrender of the self in service to the beloved. But what I'm really driving at is when we get involved with paranormal things like clairvoyance, even though it's actually quite natural, the results are other than ordinary. So, we'll call them paranormal. Is for the practitioner, the result can be a variety of beliefs and strategies to confirm or maintain the identity of the seer. And then for those who go to clairvoyance or psychics and things, is the desire is to experience all the magic, the release, the magical feelings, and as a byproduct, what they hope to be real, or what they imagine is real, or what they believe. And herein lies the problem. Herein, clairvoyance ceases to be an instrument to relieve suffering permanently. And what it becomes is a point of fascination where the indulgence of a sensation reorganizes the identity, or it's a short-term experience, a bit like watching your favorite movie, right? Or pulling a slot machine, right? Many people like to gamble, and each pull of that slot machine, the machine is organized to stimulate a dopamine response, much like smartphones, right? And so the indulgence with clairvoyance and the pursuit of mystical things is very much like, will this psychic provide this? Will that psychic provide that? Maybe the medium will. Maybe this great astrologer I read about, or perhaps I should go to that talented tarot artist and I'll give them a try. I'll see how they make me feel. It's very much like finding your lucky slot machine. It's a gamble, but it's worth it if it pays off. We're seeking someone to make us feel how we want to feel. Our attention is directed outward to our beliefs, outward to our expectations, outward to this individual, and outward to a world of spirit where we hope to encounter something that will trigger an all experience that will change my relationship to how I believe the world works and my limited place in it. And so, Jack, what's the harm in that? Maybe there is none. If you want to rely upon mystical sensations, emotional titillation, sentimentality, physical sensations in your body, right, to be the basis of an identity. But these things, the pursuit of awe and the result of those magical feelings, whether it's you as the practitioner soliciting a dopamine response from affirmation from a client after you maybe give them some accurate clairvoyant information, or whether it's the sitter who elicits a dopamine response by hearing something from you that confirms the way they imagine or hope the world is. Right? So we see this interplay that really becomes the pursuit of limerence, right? This sort of euphoric, special dynamic that insulates us in the world of a romanticized version of ourselves and our place in it in relationship to what we hope are heavenly beings, right? Stripping all of that away, what you still have is the witness, the perceiver of these events and how we define them and the identity that results from it. And even though it feels spiritual or magical, this is still ultimately not real. Why is it not real? Because it's not eternal. That identity is not eternal. It's based on interdependent causes and interactions and beliefs and mental concepts, emotion, sentimentality, sensations, right? The accolades given by the person who interacts with you during your expression of clairvoyance, et cetera, right? I see some of you shifting in your seats. I warned you. So look, I can tell you from a certain perspective that there are instances where, yeah, communication with the deceased is the easiest way to define what it is that's being encountered. I'm not here to argue that. There is a continuity of life. But two things can be true. There can be the continuity of life after death, physical death, and there can be the impression of phenomena into the environment that our minds reanimate and anthropomorphize, right? And even that said, that's not really the point of all this. What I really want to stress is the persona that results from the use of extrasensory perception. It becomes an obstacle. It becomes an organizing principle for your personality. And that's the problem. The pursuit of freedom and the pursuit of the experience of otherworldly beings and outer body energies, etc., ultimately isn't big enough to offer the true essence of your being in service to others. I want you to think about as a psychic or someone in development, that really what you're doing is you're organizing your awareness to accept information via the right brain and project it onto the screen of your mind, or the mirror of the mind, as mediums teach. In relationships to the contents of that screen, your identity can change. Much like if you're watching a movie, you imagine yourself having that romance, having that adventure, seeing a style or a way of living or being or having an adventure, and you think, yeah, that's me. I'd like some of that. And you begin to change in relationship to the impression that film makes upon you. It's just how life is. You're watching that movie, you're sitting in that chair, you feel safe and comfortable. The safety and comfort of that chair are all the belief systems that organize and support who you think you are and the way the world works. And from that safe and comfortable place, you get lost in the film. It becomes your reality. The last thing you want to do is shift in your seat, turn and face everyone else in the room and see how hypnotized they are. And then look up into the light being projected from the back of the room. It ruins everything. It breaks the illusion. You become a distraction to others. They begin to fidget and become uncomfortable. Now you're uncomfortable. And as you stare into that light, your eyes begin to sting. The illusion is gone. The magical feelings in your body gone. Your mind begins to think about everything you're supposed to do after the film, everything that went wrong earlier in the day, what's going on next week. A kind of chaos erupts where just a moment ago you had this singular focus. You were insulated in the world, projected on the screen, secure in who you are, numb to past, present, and future. Now everything's changing. It's really uncomfortable. This discomfort is our path toward genuine illumination. We are to allow that light to break the illusion of who we think we are, our place in the world, and what it all means. To strip away every mental concept, every belief that we invest in, all of the emotions that are triggered or that motivate our pursuit of their experience. To let go of identification with the body, its beauty, its ugliness, its tightness, its flexibility, its youth, its pleasure. The reason why extrasensory perception can be problematic is because just like the senses of the physical body, the 5 physical senses, the extrasensory capabilities also become points of contact that can create a dependence, a kind of enslavement, a source of delusion. The delusion is not whether or not what is witnessed is real. It's the delusion is the life and the identity that emerges by our investment in those things as reality, and the resulting persona as permanent. This is the way. And the way that you can reach a point of letting go of the pursuit of magical sensations either for yourself or on offer to others, letting go of the pursuit of magical sensations and evidence of afterlife or evidence of your paranormal abilities, which really only support the existence of your finite individual identity as a psychic or clairvoyant. When you let go of pursuit of that and you turn toward the light of the awareness animating all existence deep within you, from deep within you, it's very uncomfortable. You start to dissolve. And then the freedom that each one of you have come to me and asked for, the desire to be more, to be without limitation, to serve better, ironically, as psychics, begins to dissolve. And what happens is there's a real fear, very real discomfort, discursiveness in the mind. Because to be free of the confines of the identity as a psychic, well, that might seem to interrupt your ability to make a living. It might change the way people treat you. Maybe you're not so special anymore. But beyond that, inside of you, there's a reorganization that happens, and you don't know where it's going or what tomorrow is going to look like. It's very disconcerting. The freedom that you're all seeking or report seeking is real uncertainty. Anything could happen. Now, I know that the freedom that each of you have expressed a desire to experience innocently is well mapped out. You want freedom, you want to be of service, you want to be a light, you want to be uplifted, and in that are all these very kind and self-illuminating notions, a lot of the word is escaping me at the minute, a lot of benevolence. But even this vision that you have of who you'll be when you're free, man, that's just your imagination. That's the ego trying to give itself a life raft, trying to bargain or organize a spiritual identity that it can use to survive. When in truth, as we look up at that light from our comfortable place, supported by our beliefs in who we are and how the world works, as we move toward that like moths to a flame, it really is blinding us. It really is melting away that part of us that is designing what freedom looks like, what liberation is, and who we'd become after that. That's the scariness, is you don't know. So what I'm talking about here is how you use extrasensory perception will either contribute to the beliefs and the anxieties of those who come to you, while contributing to support your own aversion to anxiety, aversion to the unknown, support your own persona, right? This is why in mainstream religion, there's always this admonition against going to seers or psychics and things like that. Put aside the notions of devils and demons and spellcasters and all of that kind of stuff. Just I don't want to go into that. We could talk about it, but really at the bottom of this issue is that the use of paranormal abilities just creates another identity, another layer. Maybe it seems spiritual, but it's another layer of identity that isn't truly the illumined self. But when you use extrasensory perception as a tool, as an instrument to relieve suffering without fostering an identity of your own or inspiring or uplifting clients by triggering sentimental or paranormal sensations in them, you can begin to be in the world via the use of extrasensory perception surgically without creating a world defined by extrasensory perception and the beliefs that result to support it and the identities that manifest from that. This is the framework. This is the point of view from which I'm working with each of you. I'm not trying to help you become a great psychic. What I want to do is help you find your way home. Home to that place of love within you that was before your birth, that exists after your death, that to the left and the right is already present. I'll take your questions.